Okay, guys, so I want to share with you an exercise for prioritizing what's most important in life and identifying what matters the most and then, making it happen. This is obviously a little bit out of my remit of like strictly diet and nutrition, but as you probably know by now, there are so many things in our lives that influence whether or not we're able to do the diet or not. And part of it is lifestyle, and part of it is, how we're thinking about things and our mindset. And part of it is, other things getting in the way. So I think this is a really important exercise for sort of zooming out. And I came across this exercise a few years ago, and I found that it just focused me in ways that nothing else really has. So I wanted to share it with you. Okay, so just a bit of information before we dive into this exercise. Apparently this is attributed to Warren Buffett, so I'm not sure about that, but it might be. And I think the important thing to sort of remember is that there's just so much abundance and so much to do in the modern world that a lot of what will create success in anything, in business, in health, in whatever, is learning to say no to things and actually learning, to hyper focus in on and triple down on the most important things, the things that are going to get the needle moving in the right direction, and to kind of, ignore everything else, because a lot of the other stuff will just be noise and will get in the way. So you might have noticed this with, when it comes to the diet and exercise, we do a lot of work on like focusing on the big rocks and stop majoring in minors and stop worrying about, nutrient timing and worrying about, little things that don't matter and aren't going, like intermittent fasting, aren't going to matter, aren't actually going to get you losing weight, and focusing on the big rocks that do. And one thing you've probably heard me say a lot so far is there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. This is my favorite expression in life. We have to recognize what the trade-offs are. We live in a culture that is allergic to trade-offs, and we just think we can have it all, and we can't. Or you have to decide what you want, and you have to have laser focus on those things, otherwise it just won't happen. And you have to get rid of all the things that get in the way of, or create distractions from those important things in life. A really important insight is realizing that saying yes to any one thing means saying no to a bajillion other things. If you decide to read one book, you are by definition not reading a bajillion million other books, right? By focusing your time and attention on one thing, you are not doing a whole bunch of other things. And it's really important to understand that about the nature of reality, especially the nature of the modern world, and accept that. Otherwise, people who don't accept trade-offs and aren't willing to accept the trade-offs of any one thing, and aren't willing to even acknowledge that there's trade-offs, they're the people who don't get success in any one area. So, a lot of people want to lose weight, but they don't want to do the hard work to lose weight. That's a really great example. They aren't willing to eat less. They aren't willing to focus less on food. They aren't willing to socialize less, or obviously you have to find a balance. You still have to enjoy your life, but you can't have your cake and eat it. So learning to say no and not having FOMO is in some ways more important than learning what to say yes to. It's really easy to say yes to things. Yes, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. But you can't have it all. You have to often pick what things you really want. And in order to do that, you have to identify what things you're willing to say no to. And another great way of framing this that I've seen throughout the years is either fuck yes or no. Either you really, 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 really want something really badly and you're willing to do the work to get it and you're willing to deal with the trade-offs, or it's a no. If you just kind of want to do something, like if you get invited to go to a thing, you don't really want to go and it's not really important, it's just going to be a distraction. So anyway, this exercise is to help you focus on the most important thing. Okay, so step one, take an empty blank piece of paper, and you can't see it because of this background, and brain dump all the things. Just do a list of all the things that you want to do in your life, that you want to achieve in your life, that you want to experience in your life. No filter, just dump it all down one in a big long list. Step two, go back through your list and circle the 25 most important things. Okay, and in order to do this, you're going to have to not circle some other things. Like, what are the most important things you want to do? Step 3, on a separate piece of paper, write down the 5 most important things from that list of 25, right? So you're going to have to it's going to take you a few minutes, you're going to have to think a little bit, and you're going to have to whittle it down to just 5 things. You can't have more than 5 things. Step 4, once you've got those 5 things, ignore the rest. So apparently Warren Buffett says all of those other things that are on your list of 25, those 20 other things that you sort of kind of want to do, but they're not important enough to be in your top 5 things, they are just distractions, and they are going to distract you from getting the few important things that really, really, really matter in life. So it's really about identifying what's most important and then identifying what's a distraction and letting go of it, because we do live in la la land in the modern world where we think we can have everything, right? And we really can't. We can have a few really important things and a few really great things. So, okay, what I want you to do now is press pause, go and do this exercise. Like, seriously, press pause, stop the video, go and do this exercise, because I have a few more thoughts that I want to share on this, but I want you to do it yourself first. So press pause now. Like now. Okay, so what did you find? Did you find it interesting? I found it super interesting. Here's what I found when I did this exercise, and you might have a very different experience to me, but I want to share with you what I found. So when I first heard this exercise, I was like, how am I going to have just 25 things? There's so many things I want to do. And then I was writing my list down, and I was like, and I got stuck at about 18, and I was like, I don't actually have more things I really want to do. So that was my first sort of like interesting thing, is I was like, I don't actually have 25 things. And then when I then had to go whittle it down to 5 things, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, I thought, like, there's no way I'm going to only have 5 things, but I actually only had 3, right? I realized there were only 3 things that really, really, really matter to me in life. And those 3 things are 1, to have a healthy and happy family, 2, to have physical and mental health, and 3, to be successful in my career and financially secure. These 3 things are super duper important to me. And everything else, I realized it's not as important as these things. It's definitely not important enough to put it on a top 5 next to these 3 things. It might be like way down a list of like another thing I'd like to do, but it either fits into one of these categories, or it just is nowhere near as important as one of these categories. And so I had all these other things like learning to surf that I realized, well, if I do it, the only reason why I would do it is to sort of contribute to my physical and mental health, or like improving at the guitar. Again, it's something to do that like improves my physical and mental health, but it didn't really matter as much as those other things. And so a lot of things just kind of got filtered off my list of things to do, because I realized if it didn't contribute to one of these 3 things, either it contributed to one of these 3 things, and so it was worth doing at some point, even if maybe not now, maybe I'll do it in 10 years, or it was just not important. It didn't contribute to any of these things, so there's no point in me doing it. And this has really guided me over the past few years. Like, does it contribute to one of these 3 things? No. Okay, well, then I just don't do it. And this has been particularly important to me during this time of my life because, you know, as you probably know, I have 3 small children and life is very, very busy. I run my own business, obviously, and I don't have time to do everything that I would like to do. So I have to be really, really, really brutal with the time that I do have, and, you know, really, really laser focused. And a lot of things are distractions. A lot of things that I could do are distractions. Obviously, like, some socializing is important for me. I have friends that I really care about and I want to spend time with, and they are important to me and my life. But then just random socializing that I used to do, like, there's a lot of things that I have to say no to because it just doesn't contribute and it's just not important enough. So for me, this really helps me with the limited time that I have. It helps me stay laser focused on what really matters, and it helps me to say no to things that don't matter so that I have time to do the things that really matter. And another really important thing to me is a mental physical health And that includes being a certain weight and being fit and healthy. And so, I need to have time in my schedule to do those things, to work out, to eat properly, and stuff like that. And before we finish, I want to add another kind of element to this that's not actually the same thing, but I think fits in really, really well here, is the urgent, important matrix quadrants. That sounds really long and ridiculous, but I want to share this idea with you. This is from the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this fits in really, really nicely with the exercise that we did before, but it's also a great way of conceptualizing things. So I want to share it with you. So the idea is that, you've got urgent and non-urgent across the top, and you've got important and not urgent on the side axis thing, right? So then you have 4 different quadrants, right? Quadrant 1 is important and urgent, right? This is like crises. Quadrant 2 is important but non-urgent. So this is like goals and planning, and long-term goals, right? Then quadrant 3 is not important but urgent, and these are like interruptions in general. And quadrant 4 is not important, not urgent, and these are big distractions that you need to get rid of. Okay, so just to sort of give some examples of this, for me in my life, the important the important and urgent tasks, right? These are the things you need to do straight away. These are things for me like, you guys, right? Your client, your tasks, things that I need to get done for you each week, questions, and also people who are reaching out to me, potential leads, people who want to work with me on my coaching program. This is important, and it's also urgent. It's time, it's got a time constraint on it. It needs to get done immediately, or somebody not being able to pay, or somebody not being able to get onto the program, right? It can't just wait. I've got to help them, drop other things and help them. Okay. So there's often a lot of important and urgent things you need to do every day, and you just have to do them. Then the quadrant 2 is the really interesting one, because this is the stuff, the important stuff in life that is not urgent. This is the stuff that always gets put off, because you can start tomorrow, you can start next week. But this is the important stuff that if you don't do them, you will not achieve the most important things in your life. Okay, so that sounds dramatic, but it's very, very true, right? So if you go back, like for me, I go back to my top 3 things: to have a healthy and happy family. That doesn't happen from doing urgent. Yes, there are urgent tasks, right? My son needs a poo. I need to take him to the toilet. That's important and urgent. It's very time sensitive, right? Okay, fine, I have to do that. But spending some time with my son, reading or having a conversation with him, right? That's stuff that's not urgent. It's super duper important, but it's not urgent. Okay, so we tend to get really caught up in things that are in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, things that are urgent, and some of those things are important, but some of those things are not important, right? So like cleaning, for example. I had a long day ahead of me today. Yes, the cleaning is urgent. It kind of needs to be done, and it is important to a certain degree. Obviously, like I can't just leave it for the rest of the week. But there are more important things to get done, right? Urgent and not important things are like just randomers, like messaging you or like whatever on Instagram. Okay, but the things that get put off are these really, really, really important things over here. Okay, that are going to get you to your big goals. So, spending quality time, undistracted quality time away from screens and stuff like that with your family and loved ones and your husband or your wife or whatever. That's really important stuff, but it's not urgent. Your health and workouts are a great example of this, right? They are super duper important. They're some of the most important things, but they are not urgent. And so many people live from week to week saying, I'll work out next week, I'll work out next week, I'll start next month, I'll start on Sunday, I'll start on Monday. And it just never happens because it's not urgent. But showing up and working out consistently twice a week for a decade, for your whole life, that is super duper important. Tracking your calories, for example, like it's obviously a pain in the bum, and it doesn't feel but it's super important to be on track with your calories, but you can always put it off until a bit later. And also time offline is really important. Having some downtime every day where you're not on screens, where you're not scrolling through Instagram, like this is also stuff that doesn't feel, we've got to actually disconnect our brains for a little bit from the matrix and give it a little bit of downtime, a little bit of thinking time, a little bit of quiet time. But most people live in their day-to-day lives never, ever, ever having any of this. So this is like, for me, I have, this is important for my mental health. And like after my kids go to bed, 0 screens. Everything shuts down. I need quiet. I either read or journal or shower or eat or like actually talk to my husband. But I don't do anything that involves screens. I don't do work. I don't do anything else because your brain actually needs some quiet time to relax. Okay. But again, this is not urgent. So you can always say, oh, I'll do this today, and then tomorrow I'll have some quiet time, and it never comes. And then quadrant 4 is the not important, not urgent things. And these things are just distractions, right? Just Instagram doom scrolling, right? It's neither important nor is it urgent. And then a final way of conceptualizing this matrix is quadrant 1, important and urgent, just do it. Quadrant 2, important, not urgent, schedule it. Okay, so you have to schedule your workouts in. You have to have a time that you track your calories, ideally in the morning, after breakfast, track ahead for the day, that kind of thing. Schedule quiet time for with your family where you're not distracted and you're not doing other things in the evening. Like I try to not have my phone on me when I'm with my kids in the evening and on Saturdays, on Shabbat. Like for phone-free days, I'm totally with them. You have to schedule these things in or they will not happen. Quadrant 3, delegate it. So for example, cleaning, I get somebody to clean my house because it's not important enough for me to be doing it. I prefer to be working. And quadrant 4, delete it, right? Those distractions. I can't get rid of Instagram, unfortunately, but I can get rid of scrolling on Instagram. I don't need to scroll on Instagram. I can use it for advertising, for answering messages, for talking to leads, for talking to people that I care about, but I can not use it for the distracting doom scrolling. So anyway, big takeaway from all of this is identify those top most important things in your life, those top 3 things or 5 things, right? And then you got to schedule it in because they are almost always going to fall into this non-urgent but important quadrant. Also, saving money or investing money also goes into this, right? You have to schedule it. You have to make it happen. You have to put time aside for it because it won't happen. All the urgent and important tasks, they will take care of themselves because you have to put out fires, because your boss is waiting for something, because otherwise your son's going to poo himself. Like all of those things, that they're going to take care of themselves. You don't have to worry about them. But the things that are in the non-urgent but important pile, those are the things that you have to really manage with great care and make time for them every day, every week, every month, whatever it is. Otherwise, they won't happen. And I dare you to do this exercise. Once you've done the Warren Buffett exercise, have a little reflection on those really top important things to you. And I bet all of them fall into this quadrant and none of them fall into the other things. Let me know if I'm wrong, but all of them or almost all of them will fall into this quadrant, is my guess. Let me know what you think of this exercise. Hope you find it as helpful as I did, and I hope it helps you also on your fat loss, fitness, etc. journey.